Hi, we're Emily and Clark on Temptress, and today we're going to do a rather different video. There's a bay that we're in right now named Luperon. It's in the Dominican Republic. It is a very, very important bay if you're traveling east because it breaks up two very daunting crossings. Today we're going to talk about how to get into this bay safely. There's some reefs, and trust me, it's a challenge. And you don't want to be dealing with it when you're exhausted for the first time. So we're going to talk about how to get in. We're going to do a few other videos in this series where we're going to talk about how to check in and what to do while you're here. If you're traveling out to the Eastern Caribbean, you're probably going to want to stop in Luperon. There are other ways to go. You can stay out in the ocean and make all your easting at a higher latitude, and that has a lot to be said for it. But many people want to go up the coast of the Dominican Republic, slip through the Mona Passage, and then up the coast of the south side of Puerto Rico. If you do that, you will have made your crossing from the Bahamas to this area. It may be your first actual ocean-feeling passage. This isn't just crossing the Gulf Stream. In ways it's easier, in ways it's harder. It's definitely longer. And by the time you get to this area, you're going to want to rest. Also, when you leave this area, you need the weather to be really good. If you've read Van Sant's book, and I recommend it, you will see that the passage from here east for the next bit is one of the tougher ones. When I last did it, I will say it's my third toughest crossing in all my sailing career. So what does Luperon have to offer? Well, it's a very nice, very protected bay. Once you get in past the reefs, it is a trivial entry. It's very laid back, it's very calm. It's a great place just to hang out and rest and get ready for your further adventures. What it doesn't have to offer is beautiful water and lovely diving reefs and lots of fish. It's more of a industrial harbor turned cruiser hangout, and it still has a bit of that industry going on. So it's just not the most beautiful place in the Caribbean, but it is probably the safest place in the Caribbean. And by that, I mean, this is the best hurricane harbor I've found in the Caribbean. One of the reasons we've been here for a while is we don't worry about our boat. In fact, we often leave the boat and fly out in the summer and do things in our camper and know that our boat is as safe as it can be at this latitude right here. So let's talk about how to get into the place. You'll have probably crossed from either the Turks and Caicos or you've done a longer trip from the Bahamas in one go. It's best if you make the actual crossing down to Luperon overnight. It works very well. This is how I've always done it. There's just plain less weather at night in this part of the world. And when you arrive in Luperon in the morning, you get to have some light so you can see what's going on. Wait for the sunrise to come in. You definitely don't want to come in here in the dark if you've never done it before. And the mornings here tend to be windless, just absolutely windless. By afternoon, we usually have 25 knots of wind. So wouldn't you rather come in between reefs you don't know, dead slow if necessary, with no wind to worry about? So do it that way. Trust me, come in the morning. In setting your course for Luperon Harbor, aim a bit to the east. There's quite a strong east current as you get closer. You're going to get swept west. A lot of boats end up trying to short tack the beach and work their way to the east again. Just get ahead of it. It's easier to come on a course that's significantly east and then let the current drive you back west if necessary. The approach to Luperon has two reefs that are important. This one shown by the purple line on this chart is pretty much exactly where it is. There's also a reef that kind of does this. And that reef, I don't know why it's not showing up on this chart, but it does exist. You'll see it because it'll have waves on it almost all the time. You come in between those two reefs. you'll find some marks. And these are serious marks. Large steel cans and nuns, and they've been placed by cruisers, retired cruisers that really want to protect you. This is not a Dominican government thing that may or may not be there. The guys that have put these here keep careful track of them, and they're very reliable. That's important because the channel actually is rather narrow. Once you get in through the outer reefs, it is as simple as keep the reds to your right and keep the greens to your left. You'll pass many of these. As you come into the outer harbor, you'll find that even if it was a little bumpy out there, it really just calmed down. Even if it was blowing, even if you did it in the afternoon, there'll be virtually no waves at this point. There are reefs to worry about, and you have to be concerned. There's a harbor to your left. That is quite shallow, and you won't want to go into that. Some people go in just a little bit to get themselves out of all the action and anchor and rest up and maybe even check in from there, though that's overkill. It's unnecessary. The main harbor is to your right. It's a narrow passage. It opens up once you get in, and that's where you'll want to go. There's a reef off this point that would be right straight ahead of you as you come in. And of course, it is shallow on the edges, but right where it narrows the most, there's a plenty wide deep passage, well marked by 2 buoys. Come on in. Once you get in, there's 2 directions you could go. You can go straight down the obvious channel following the left shore. You could follow that all the way to the city dock. Not quite that far in though for a yacht, because it does get shallow in that edge. And near the end of that is where you'll have any hope at all of finding an anchorage. I'm not going to recommend anchorages, and I'll go into that in just a bit. As you come in to your right of the main channel, you'll see all the moored boats. That's the mooring field. There's some other mooring fields around, but that's the biggest one. To enter that mooring field, you could come down the channel and turn into it. Also, as soon as you enter the main bay, you could take a right and follow the mangrove shore on the north side of the harbor. And as long as you stay near the shore, that is a good deep channel. That channel will take you down the north side of the mooring field. Of course, you could enter into the mooring field if you see a mooring you like. If you follow the mangroves down to the end, as it were, you will find a marina, a small marina, but it does have a dock and showers and other facilities, and a restaurant cruisers use quite a bit. If you're a person that likes marinas, you could tie to the dock there, go into the office, sign up, and not have to use your dinghy. So you're in now. You would like to rest. We all want to put down an anchor. We all want to feel independent. There's a couple reasons why in this particular bay you should seriously consider renting a mooring or tying to the dock at the marina. We don't usually rent moorings. We are definitely anchor people. We trust our gear. That's us. But here I still take a mooring. The reasons are there's very little space to anchor. If you look through the mooring field, you'll say, aha, there's a big space. I could anchor there amongst those boats. The reason there isn't a mooring there is it's very shallow there. There are these shallow points throughout the bay, and basically every space that can be used in the mooring field is used with a mooring. Reason number 2, you probably could disregard this if you're only going to spend a week, but this bay is one of the growiest bays I've ever been in. That means barnacles and other things are going to grow on your anchor rod, particularly if you have chain. You are going to fight to chip all of them off. If you're here over a week, it's just not worth the effort. It's better to rent a mooring. And the final reason to rent a mooring is they're really quite inexpensive. The moorings are controlled by local guys that will charge you for the mooring and provide lots of services. They'll bring water out to your boat, put it right in your tanks. They will bring you fuel if you would like fuel. Most anything that you could imagine you would like help with, they're there to help you. The rates are quite reasonable, and you're going to find it very helpful. The 2 guys are Papo and Handy Andy. We use Handy Andy. Generally, you're going to use the guy whose mooring you're on. Now, Handy Andy has taken some red spray paint and he sprayed all of his moorings. So if you come into the bay and you see a mooring with red spray paint on it, you can be assured that's available, and just tie up to it. Within a little while, Andy will come by and he'll tell you his rates and he'll introduce himself. Papa will do the same thing, and he has the other moorings. In the off chance you're tying up to a private mooring, and there are very few of them, just be ready to leave when the owner comes by, if that's the case. For that reason alone, I think the red moorings and the fact that I like Handy Andy are a good bet. So if you see a red mooring, take it and say hi to Andy for us. Once you get your boat all tied down and you're safe and secure, it's time to decide what to do next. Now, this is one of the bays that's not like right on you to check in. You can take your time a bit. I mean, get at it and don't go into town and do things until you've checked with people. But if you're exhausted, you could take a little rest for a bit. You can get your act together, take a shower if you'd like, and then you want to check in. For checking in or doing anything in town, buying groceries, everything, you're going to want to go to what we call the moye. Moye just means municipal dock here. To get there, you're going to continue into the bay, into the inner bay, right down the main channel. And as you go down, you honestly can't miss it. It will have large fishing boats tied to it. Come down the northwest side of the moye. The southeast side of the moye is very shallow. Go past the actual moye part where it looks like a dock, and you'll see a collection of 3 small boat docks. There's an old wooden dock that is a bit dilapidated. Mostly locals are using that nowadays. Then there's a floating dock, and you'll be able to tell. It'll be full of cruiser dinghies. That's where you should tie up. And there's finally a 3rd floating dock, and again, the local guys are using that. Tie up to that, walk up the dock, turn right at the moye, and start walking into town. Now, everything you need to do actually check in is right at the end of the dock, but we'll go into that in more detail in a later video. There's other places you can take your dinghy for other purposes, but we'll go into that in the 3rd video where we talk about what to do in Luperon. It's been a long time since we've done one of these navigation type videos. Tell me what you think down in the comments. Please like the video. There'll be a couple more about Luperon, one about how to check in, and what to do when you're here. All the facilities that are available. Luperon is generally a nice place. We like it, and we make it our home quite often. Bye from Temptress.